Hello, and you are listening to FPcast, the podcast for fruitless pursuits where we bullshit about the week in pop culture. I am Luke.
And I'm Jacinta.
And this week we are talking about...
Movies, television, collectibles, video games, comics, books, board games, and more.
Covfefe.
We're not going to talk about Covfefe, are we? Oh, you know what? I do kind of want to talk about it on a tangential kind of thing.
Yeah.
In fact, you've just opened up the whole Trump tin straight away.
Yeah, I don't know.
Out of the bottle.
Yeah, I know. I mean, obviously we don't like to usually talk about Trump, and the day that the Covfefe thing all broke, I'd been at work all day. Normally I would check Twitter during the day, but I hadn't this particular day, and I got home, and I'm catching up on an entire day of Covfefe memes, and I'm just like, what the fuck happened today? And then obviously he decided to pull out of the, Paris Climate Agreement and everything went to shit again. But there was just this magical window of just pure internet joy over Covfefe.
All right, I do want to talk about something Trump-related, which is, goes into the world of pop culture. So I think it's relevant. But I do want to assure everyone, this is our Wonder Woman episode. We have seen Wonder Woman. I've seen it twice. We're going to be reviewing that very soon. I have seen it twice. I have got my head around it more than the woman wondering about it still in the room. Because that's what the title means, right? Mm-hmm. And we're going to do that. We're going to talk about other pop culture news, trailers. Hang tight. But there is a little bit of Trump thing. Have I got a Trump sound? Which one would you like? How about this one?
Together, Grimace, we could own this town.
To tie it back Trump to pop culture, I want to talk about this Kathy Griffin thing. Now, I've put this on the list. You have no idea what my stance is on this. You know what I'm referring to, of course.
I do, yes.
Just give us the elevator pitch of this situation.
We did a photo shoot for somebody where she's holding the bloodied, disembodied head of Donald Trump.
Yes.
Yep.
And Kathy Griffin, not a big name in Australia, is she?
Didn't she have a show in like the 90s or something?
Yeah, I would think of her as a sort of B grade, always was, like comedian. And did this shoot with a photographer. Now, I haven't done my due diligence and looked up the work of this photographer, but I did read that the photographer is known for doing shocking, irreverent images. So it was decided that this was all too far. She went too far. She apologised. I'm sorry I went too far. Now she's saying that the Secret Service have been onto her and she's been fired from a lot of engagements and shows that are coming up. The Trump family, like Little Don Jr. has been going, hey, like emailing people or tweeting people that she's associated with and saying, hey, you need to get rid of her, etc., etc., etc. And it pisses me off. I want to make a stance on this.
Okay.
Isn't this bullshit? Like, do you find this bullshit? What do you think about this?
I mean, when I had just heard about the story, I thought, oh, that's, going a little bit far, them trying to fire her and all that sort of stuff. Once I actually saw the image, it's a pretty confronting image.
It's a gross image. If I was to name 1,000 of my favourite comedians, Kathy Griffin isn't in there. No. I don't give a shit about Kathy Griffin as a comedian or even really a person. But she's an artist. The photographer more so is an artist. No one's, talking about what's happening with the photographer. But if it's a photographer that does shocking imagery, and they're punching up, they're not punching down. It's not... So regardless of how poor taste it is, they're not picking on like a minority or punching someone while they're down or anything like that. They're hitting a really big target who is having a huge impact on the world. And you would think that everyone would have thicker skin about it. I mean, it's a bit of social commentary. And yes, it's a photo, but there's been plenty of cartoons, memes, etc., which are derogatory towards Trump. It is violent. It is weird. Snoop Dogg did the clown Trump putting the gun to his head, but it was a fake gun thing. Not as graphic as this one. For me, it conjures up that I see a severed head now. I think of that Game of Thrones political wrangling so I can see the sort of satirical nature of that. But the thing that really shits me is that why is she apologizing? Because Trump has done so many fucking terrible things and so many things that aren't just affecting America but are going to affect the world now. Has he apologized for any single one of them? Has he, lost his job for any single one of them?
Sadly, no.
So he does all these things, and then the people that, comment on it, whether they got it right or wrong, poor taste, bad taste, or whatever, why are they apologizing? I just think that's ludicrous when this person is doing this. And you mentioned Kofave. Suzanne had gotten... Look, I'm not a big Twitter person, okay? I do read the Trump stuff. But I'm aware of We Rate Dogs. I know it's incredibly popular. I've never sat down and looked through a lot of We Rate Dogs. So Suzanne, we're in bed watching something. She starts showing me some We Rate Dog stuff.
Yeah.
And, I'm looking at the doggos and the puppers, and I'm thinking, I'd boop that schnoop, etc.
Yeah.
It's all great. And so it was just a selection, a curated selection from Suzanne. The next day, I think, I'm going to have a look at We Rate Dogs. It's after the Kofave fallout.
Yeah.
And what had happened was the We Rate Dogs guy, with an hour of that coming out, had put out a cap in his store that said Kofave AF. And was selling it and got this huge backlash of trying to profit on this.
Oh.
And so...
But offset, bunch of the T-shirt sites, those cheapy... they all have Kofave T-shirts.
Yeah. So, got criticised for bringing politics into it. And so one of my first things of this guy, who, they're good dogs, Brent, great comebacks, etc.
Yeah.
Is him completely breaking character and posting, oh, look, I'm really sorry, everyone. Dogs are bipartisan, and I should never have brought my own politics into this, and I realise how offended people are. And I also realise that, we shouldn't be making money, so I'm going to give it to Planned Parenthood, half of it to Planned Parenthood. But then people were like, well, how does that benefit dogs? That's still political. So, then I'll match the Planned Parenthood to the dog shelter, etc. It's like, why are you fucking apologizing? Do you think you would ever get an apology from, a Trump person? And you are the We Rate Dogs guy. Say they're good caps, Brent. Make a joke. Don't apologize for bringing stuff into it. I realize we're already a niche of a niche of a niche, but I would never go, we're not going to talk about politics, guy, because we know that some of you might feel the other way and we don't want to offend you or we don't want to alienate you. Fuck you. If in this overwhelming, increasing evidence, see this as a good thing, then you are a double fucked idiot, and I can't imagine why you would even listen to this in the first place. People, have done some dumb things, they've done some tasteless things, they've made some, rash things, but they're not the President of the United States, who is a big dummy and is actively proud of ignorantly fucking up the world. And he's never going to apologize for that. So maybe think twice before you break character and go, oh, look, I'm really sorry if I offended anybody because of the... And, that, in a way, isn't that exactly what we talk about in terms of being politically correct? Because there's so many times when people go, oh, why can't I say someone's a big fat idiot? Why do we have to be all politically correct? That's got nothing to do with politics. That's just being, a decent fucking person and not having everybody think that you're an absolute shithead. I think being politically correct is going, oh, well, we got to let's not look at the thing that is right in front of us because we got to respect each other's politics about this kind of thing. That's crazy. Why would we do that? It's insane.
To keep the peace, perhaps.
But we're not keeping the peace.
No.
Is the thing. Everything is just crazy. So, he's not going to apologize, so don't apologize. It's a drop in the ocean.
He won't apologize when the American continent is a withered husk.
I know, it's like the guy watched Fury Road and thought, oh, this looks great. We should give... Yeah, I swear he will be a Morton Joe by the end of it. He'll have the mask and he'll just keep kicking because he'll be he's stealing milk from people.
Yeah, I've seen people
from their
sort
bodies.
of starting to say, well, hey, maybe let's build the wall and then just all the way around and then just put a roof on it. And then just
See what happens.
and then just like lock all the doors, like let everybody out who doesn't want to be in Trump land. Like they can come and live in Canada or come and live here or whatever they want. Like they're good people, they can do what they want. But then no, just put Trump and the Republicans, just put a roof on it, and then they can just gas themselves with their fossil fuels. And then once that's all done, we take the roof off, take the walls down, and everybody just goes back.
So, Trump, if you're worried about Kathy Griffin, and you've got to be the only person that's been worried about Kathy Griffin in, like, her entire
20 years.
career, then something's wrong. There's a lot of other important things. All right. Let's talk about Top Gun again, because that
Hell
was
yeah.
fun. So we talked about this last week,
Yes,
the
we
idea
did.
of a Top Gun sequel, and we had a lot of speculation, maybe about Val Kilmer's involvement. We took a lot of joy in the idea that Val Kilmer would drive Tom Cruise.
Just up the wall.
Absolutely nutty. I mean,
Nuttier.
there is a loose cannon that you can't just like straddle it like Sure and hope for the best. Like that's
He's just firing pot shots everywhere.
it's going to go off. So it's funny. I was talking to a friend of the show during the week and was talking about this. We were talking about Tom Cruise and movies and The Mummy and brought up this Top Gun news. And she was like, oh, so what will it be? Like them sort of handing it down to younger pilots? Like
As if.
And I was like, there is no way that Tom
You're
Cruise
aware of Tom Cruise,
is going
right?
to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
He's not
yeah.
going to be giving it down to... That would be like admitting he's old.
He's too old, yeah, for sure.
There is no way. There wasn't a better way for him to prove this than to announce during his mummy junket. Mummy junket. That's a great phrase. The title of this thing. Top Gun.
Colon.
Very appropriate. Maverick.
That's just like flopping his dick just right over that poster, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's him announcing it too.
Yeah.
Top Gun, it's all about me.
Yeah, I'm sure
This
there's
guy.
like a whole bunch of other people associated with the movie is like, oh, we thought it was just Top Gun 2. And then Tom's just gone, fuck you all.
I bet Val Kilmer did a spit take over his morning
what?
third breakfast and put his coffee
He's
all
thin now.
over his
He's
bacon.
His little Bircher muesli.
I mean, that's a big, I was going to say it's probably a little munchkin mini middle finger to Val Kilmer as well.
Yeah.
It's not called Top Gun, Maverick and Iceman, best friends
BFFs forever.
Yeah, friendship is magic. it's Top Gun, Maverick.
And they asked him, they're like, oh, what's going to be in the movie? And he was like, jets.
Yeah.
And they were like, but what else? And he's like, there's going to be jets.
Yeah.
And they're like, Tom, we understand that. It's a movie about planes. What else? And he's like, well, it's going to be, like a lot of the same, but Maverick's, going to like grow as a person. I'm like, I don't want to see Maverick growing as a person. I want to see lots of plane fights and also Iceman.
An Iceman.
I want to see Iceman.
The Iceman cometh.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, a lot of these articles, like, somewhat ironically, I assume, are saying, oh, we want to see if, like, Val Kilmer, we really want to see Iceman. I'm like, I don't think you guys actually genuinely know what you're asking for. Like, I don't think that you know what kind of area of life Val Kilmer is in at the moment. I think you're just kind of going, oh, yeah, Val Kilmer's kind of kooky and whatever. Let's get him in the movie. I'm like, oh, I don't think you fully understand what's happening here.
Val Kilmer might play one of the planes. That's how, like, eccentric he is at the moment, I reckon.
Yeah.
He might be like, what if Iceman becomes the jet?
Like a cyborg?
Yeah,
like there's
he's
been some
like-
kind of accident?
He's lived the jet life his whole life, and then he's like fused with the jet, and he becomes the jet. Isn't there a movie is it called Stealth, which is about like an evil stealth plane?
I don't know.
Could be like that.
If there is, I have not seen it.
All right. And speaking of jets that turn into people and other things that transform, I missed this bit of news during the week, and it does have an element which is I'm slightly interested in. There's a Transformers spin-off planned. I kind of knew this about Bumblebee.
Yay!
Because
Fuck that.
he's everybody's favourite. I don't know how he became the star. Just because he's suddenly, he's a Camaro or something.
Yeah, because
now.
they can sell Bumblebees. They make Bumblebee cars and then they sell them.
Everyone only had Bumblebee when they were a kid because he was so cheap.
Yeah.
It was like a $5 job. A little V-dub. A little Beetle.
Yeah.
But who better to be this human star of this Bumblebee franchise than Haley Steinfeld?
Oh, that's that little girl that you like.
Academy Award-winning little girl that I like. She's not a little girl anymore. Just because she was in Edge of 17, she's like in her 20s. That's fine.
I mean, like, I know it's fine, but even I can't even look at Zac Efron.
But it's different for, like, that is a different thing.
It's not.
No, actually, it's not. You're right, it's not. And I don't know why you would have... No, but I don't know why, to be honest, you would have a problem with, like, some guy in his 20s.
Because, like, I've known him as a much, much younger man, and I can't then separate that enough.
Oh, so what? I saw Scarlett in My Brother the Pig, and that doesn't, like, change how she is now as a 30-year-old woman.
Yeah, but you saw her as an adult-ish before you saw her as a child.
No.
I knew Zac Efron as a child before I knew him as an adult. So he was kind of, like, always that kind of off-limits-y thing, and then suddenly it was like, no, it's okay to like Zac Efron now. I'm like, I don't know if I can.
He's not your fucking stepson.
He might as well be.
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's fair game. I really like Haley Steinfeld. I think she's incredibly talented actor. I think it's a very strange... Well, no, I guess you've got to attach to a franchise.
Yeah, just, like, did she not get offered anything else? Like,
that's the problem. Like, why that one?
Yeah, Transformers is, like... Well, I mean, it's not my favourite franchise, but I feel like it's not... Compared to other franchises out there, Transformers seems like one of the less sustainable ones.
Though, that said, we just watched the trailer for it in IMAX. Looks good in IMAX.
It's still Transformers.
I know, but it looks good in IMAX. It's more engaging.
No, it's not.
IMAX is fucking great, though. I was saying this
It is
on,
amazing, yeah.
You know, because it's loud, it's clear, you've got a really good view, it costs extra, but that means you don't get any ads, you just get trailers, and the trailers are huge IMAX trailers, so that's good. People are paying a premium to see it, so they're not there to go, oh, let's just see this movie and talk through it. And even if people say the odd little thing to each other, the sound's so loud you don't even hear it. It's just perfect.
Yeah, and because the sound is so loud, when big banging things happen, you feel it. It, like, vibrates through the, through the chairs. And I was like, oh, it's like 4D.
So let's go back to the Haley Steinfeld big banging things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Actually, we saw the news we were on Superhero Hype, and I thought for a second, because her picture was next to the article, oh great, she's going to be like a Marvel character or a DC character or something, going to join or join one of those universes. If you're going to attach to a franchise, they're your three universes. But no, Transformers. So
Maybe she's going to be like, maybe she'll be Marky Mark's new love interest.
Oh, that would kill me.
Yeah.
That would be so sad.
Well, that's how Hollywood is, isn't it? She's young and attractive, and he's
of such things.
He's an adventure star. He'll be nailing Haley Steinfeld in the Bumblebee spin-off.
Well, speaking of such things, the other cook-up that really would concern me, let's switch to trailers, is we watched the trailer for Murder on the Orient Express. And I was very disappointed to learn that Johnny Depp is in this film. Because otherwise it's got some pretty cool people in it.
Yeah, but on the plus side, and look, block your ears if you don't want spoilers for an 80-year-old story, there's murder. Johnny Depp's the one that gets murdered, and apparently very viciously. So we can take that away at least.
There is going to be a point where he's not going to be viable as cameo bait in a movie. I think maybe we're at the end of that cycle now where it was too late, like everybody had already hooked him up.
The last time I was delighted by a Johnny Depp cameo in a film was 21 Jump Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like, oh, that's great. And then every time since then, it's a bit, oh, must we?
But this is the first film since Force Awakens to have Daisy Ridley in it, playing a different character. So, yeah, if Daisy Ridley, like, hooked up with Johnny Depp, I don't know what I would do.
Forever tainted.
It'd be very sad, yeah. It'd be very hard to separate the art from the person.
Yeah, because if that's like a decision that she's making in her life, then obviously she's not good at, making life decisions.
I know I'm not usually very interested in the personal lives of people. Like, I do like the fantasy image of the movie person, the character. I'm into that. Like, I think, I do realize that they're real normal people behind all of that, and that it is all just smoke and mirrors and fun and games. But still, I would be like, no, come on, not Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
I'd look Josh Gad even fine.
I mean, just look, it'll make a lady laugh. Girls love that. It was a bit like that with like Hiddle Swift. I was a bit and then that sort of finished, and I'm like, okay, back to normal.
Yeah.
Back to normal programming.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's an interesting trailer. It looks cool. Poirot is Kenneth Branagh, and I really like the format of it. I think it's interestingly structured trailer. I love that long shot that goes through all the characters at the end. I think that's a really great way to set up everybody's relationship and the fact that they're all suspects without showing you half the, scenes from the movie. I think that's great.
Yeah, and I think it's a good trailer in that it works both for people who are familiar with the story and for people who aren't familiar with the story. If you're familiar with the story, great. You just want to see the characters, see what they look like, and that's what the trailer does. And if you don't know the story, then it gives you a little bit of an idea of what is going to kind of happen.
And it has been modernised as well. I don't know how clear it was in the trailer, but it is set on Snowpiercer. Which
yeah, that's cool.
I thought was really great. And,
I can't remember the scene where they like eat their sludge blocks and stuff.
When they go through the tunnel.
Yeah.
Daisy Ridley with the hatchet. Yeah. So good.
Yeah, cool.
Actually, at the beginning, when you first see the train and the snow, I thought it was a murder on the Polar Express. They explain everyone's glassy eyes. We're ghosts. And the ghost of Tom Hanks. The best trailer of the week was Soderbergh's Logan Lucky.
Oh my god. See, we have like a list that kind of helps us plan what we're doing sort of throughout the year and when movies are coming out and stuff. And I read the synopsis for this a few weeks ago. And I put it on our list basically on the back of just a 2-line description that was Channing Tatum and Adam Driver play two redneck brothers undertaking a heist. And I was like, perfect. I don't even need to know anything more.
Except the big surprise star of that trailer is newcomer Daniel Craig as Joe Bang, a peroxided thug.
Yep.
Who seems very eccentric, to use that word again. And I absolutely love that the trailer says, and introducing Daniel Craig as Joe Bang.
It looks like so much fun. Like they're stealing some money from like a NASCAR track or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so it's just, so funny, so good. And I love Adam Driver in a role like this. I haven't really seen him in this kind of thing.
Well, if you're doing a heist, you need a driver.
Well, you do.
Yeah.
You do.
And you don't want to get a baby.
And I think that I love Channing Tatum in these sorts of roles.
Yeah.
Like, I think this, the comedy but not dumb comedy thing is really working for him.
It's basically letting an actor do something different, which in a way really is introducing Daniel Craig, because you're going to get to see Daniel Craig doing things that are outside the narrow bracket that people generally put him in.
Yeah.
There's that point when you hear, oh, Daniel Craig's pissed off with James Bond, he's sick of doing it, he doesn't want to be doing it for the rest of his life, and everyone thinks, why the fuck would you not want to be James Bond, like, you grumpy prick? Like, do it. And then you see him as Joe Bang, and you're like, because he wants to do lots of different things, he wants to do crazy films like this, he doesn't just want to be, oh, that's James Bond. And it makes perfect sense. Good for him. Joe Bang. Bang. Joe Bang. I'd rather see Joe Bang than James Bond.
Yeah.
And I like James Bond.
Maybe there'll be a Joe Bang spin-off.
Maybe starring
Haley
Steinfeld. And there'll be big bangs in IMAX. Now, here's another sequel. Also this year. I didn't know this was coming out this year.
Yeah.
A sequel to Paddington.
Yes.
Paddington 2, it's called. No colons.
No, Paddington 2. Paddington.
Yeah. He's sharing the spotlight with Hugh Grant.
Yes.
And Peter Capaldi.
I think, wasn't Capaldi in the first one? Wasn't he the grumpy neighbour?
Yeah.
That was before he was the Doctor, or just as he was becoming the Doctor?
I don't know. He swore a blue streak at that poor bear. And it looks like slapstick, hijinks again. I was really mixed on that first film because at the outset it's very charming. And those books were a part of my childhood, and as well as the sort of English stop motion TV series. And I think those stories have this very charming, timeless quality. And then they kind of, halfway through, just got rid of all of that to have a scenery-chewing museum supervillain played by Nicole Kidman, which is so out of tone of those original stories. And such a, yeah, we want to do these beloved stories, but we really have no faith in them at all to hold attention, so we're going to do something completely different. And God knows what they'll come up with this. But what I did notice at the beginning, because he's washing a window, and if you're just wearing a hat, you look naked. Don't you reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's a bit saucy.
Yeah. Well, he normally wears his little anorak.
His duffel coat.
Duffel coat, yeah.
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 And no, with the duffel off.
Well, I mean, he doesn't want to get his duffel wet.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he's working with suds and water and stuff, he's just being a practical little bear.
I know, but...
I loved the first one. I really, really loved it. I think Ben Whishaw... Oh, God, I say it wrong every fucking time. Courtney, you're going to have to correct me again. Ben Whishaw? Yeah. Anyway, I love him as the voice of Paddington, and I am really looking forward to this. I think it's a very charming little character. I don't have that much attachment to Paddington beyond those, the TV series that I watched as a kid. But
You didn't grow up in a place where they read much.
You went to public school too. Fuck off. Just because you live in the fucking Golden Triangle now.
No, look.
Forgetting your roots.
I read a lot of children's literature as a child.
Yes.
A lot.
Yeah, I read, like, my go-to as a kid was Enid Blyton, and as I got a little bit older, The Saddle Club.
Yeah.
Paddington wasn't really in there.
Look, Paddington, like the A.A. Milne, Winnie the Pooh stuff, plus books of A.A. Milne poetry, like When We Were Six, etc.
Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations.
All that stuff. Like the actual J.M. Barrie Peter Pan.
Cool.
The, like, original Italian Pinocchio.
Oh, fuck off.
In Italian.
Yeah, right.
You know the cricket dies in, like, the first few chapters? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool story.
Take that, Disney. And one more trailer. Do you want to talk about this? Come on, this is your cup of tea.
Speaking of cups of tea, so Victoria and Abdul is a new movie coming out. Was it this year? This year?
I think so.
Surely
God,
this year.
you don't like try and get people excited about that a year in advance, do you?
Well, yeah, but what if something happens to Judi Dench in that time?
Oh, probably, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
we need
that's
to get
right.
people hyped.
It's probably coming out next week.
Probably. Judi Dench, wonderful Judi Dench, is playing Queen Victoria, who adopts a little friend from India who comes over to bring her a coin or something. And she thinks he's quite wonderful, and his name is Abdul, obviously, going by the title, you would expect that. And, they become friends, and all her advisors are saying, look, maybe this is not, the best idea for you, Queenie. And she's like, step off, I'm the queen, I do what I want. And that's the movie.
If I want a little Indian man, I'll have one.
Yes.
And the little Indian man is played by Kamal Najabi.
No, it's not.
By
That's so racist.
But wouldn't that be funnier?
It's played by Dev Patel, Indian man.
I was gonna say, oh God, what's his face from Master of None?
Oh, Aziz Ansari.
That would be a charming film. They'd have to spirit gum a beard on him because I don't think he can grow one. But that would be very cool. No, it looks good, and according to the cards that come up in between scenes in the trailer, the servant becomes the teacher. And I have a feeling that this unlikely couple, this odd couple, it's kind of like when you see a cat and a duck are friends.
Yeah.
They're going to teach each other a lot
About life.
how to swim and how to scratch the side of a couch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that too.
Based on a true story as well.
Yes. Yeah. So don't be tempted to go to Wikipedia and get all the spoils first.
Yeah. Watch Judi Dench explain it to you. It's from the director or the writer or something of Philomena, which Judi Dench was also in. I quite like
The
that.
director and of The Queen.
Oh, yes.
So there's
the
someone with
also.
Queen experience.
Yeah. You need royal pedigree to really tackle Victoria.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some shoulder pads,
Yeah.
I reckon.
Yeah,
and,
she's
and a helmet.
a large
Tough
woman.
old bird.
Yeah, you're not going to knock her over too easily.
God, she could turn you to stone with a glare. Mm-hmm. Which I love. All right, I reckon people's balls are pretty blue right now about Wonder Woman. They're like, everyone's talking about it. We're all like fighting about it as if a certain zodiac sign was whispering in our ears and making us fight. Let's talk about Wonder Woman. I have seen it twice. What do you think? This is DC's Gal Gadot Wonder Woman standalone movie, prequel to Superman versus Batman, going into her past in the war, all that stuff. What do you reckon?
It was magnificent.
And we haven't actually talked about your opinion because Suzanne came along with us.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. It's like this film is a magnet for women.
Oh, it's crazy. It's almost as if women want to see strong representation of their gender on screen. It's so weird.
Suzanne came along as well. We went home in separate cars, so I didn't get to talk to you about it in the car. This is the first time we're talking about it. I have kept my opinion about it completely away from you.
Yes.
To not sully your experience.
Which is the right decision.
So let's talk about it. You go. You girl power and all that.
Yeah.
Sisters are doing it for themselves is what I hear, standing on their own 2 feet. So let's hear what you thought about this woman we've all been wondering about.
Yeah, oh my god, I loved it. Like, I'm not one to really, like, get excited about things beforehand because that only leads to disappointment. But this week, I was kind of a bit like, fuck, I'm really looking forward to Wonder Woman. Like, so much more than any other movie this year. And I thought, oh god, I'm going to be disappointed and this is going to be so awful and I'm going to be like the one person to hate Wonder Woman because everybody else had been seeing it since Thursday and I'm going, oh my god, it's so good, I really loved it. But luckily, I absolutely adored it. I think with a lot of the DC films, sure, you could trim a little bit off all of them, but yeah, Gal Gadot is so amazing as Wonder Woman. I liked... I like the period setting. That's kind of, in my wheelhouse as well. And I just absolutely loved it. Adored every second. And when it finished, I wanted it to go on for another hour.
There you go. That's high praise from you, particularly. Who,
yeah. I mean, I felt a little bit giddy coming out of it. Not like Great Wall giddy,
Yeah.
but like getting up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot more the second time, and I liked it the first time. But the second time it had really sort of settled in for me, and then there is certainly something to be said for knowing the shape of something and knowing where it's going to go, and then looking at how it does that and why it does that, rather than, just reacting to, oh, why, how's this happening? I don't think that made very good sense stuff, talking words. I initially almost felt like I wanted to give this film 2 scores. Mm-hmm. That's kind of where I was coming from after seeing it the first time, particularly where, we do our 5-star letterbox system. I would have given the film itself 3.5. Mm-hmm. And I would give Wonder Woman as a character, and I mean as a character portrayed by Gal Gadot, a 5. Because I love the character. I love what Gal Gadot does with it. I think she's she's incredibly charismatic. She's a credible action star. She absolutely has the strength and presence to carry this film from beginning to end. And she's 100% believable that she's Wonder Woman. And the iconography is great, and
the development of the character throughout the movie was not something that I was expecting. Like, I wasn't. There was a lot of kind of innocence to the character to start off with, and that sort of changes throughout the film. I loved that. Yeah,
she's fish out of water. She's a little bit Buddy the Elf at times, but
even in those moments, like, those are the moments that really got me. Like, the bits where she's going, you should be very proud of yourself. And I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I love you so much.
There's a slight disconnect there, and I don't know if it's because I agree, all those scenes work very well. There's a slight disconnect for me, and I had this with Master of None as well, with the Francesca Italian character. Have you watched any of that second season yet?
Not the second season, no.
There's this kind of bit where she's got that Buddy the Elf thing going, but she's an incredibly smart woman. And you go, is it just because you're Italian or whatever? Where she's suddenly like, oh, but what is this thing? I don't know what this is. And I felt that you've got Wonder Woman here, this person who speaks 100 languages and seems to be very well read on subjects, like the pleasures of the flesh, doesn't just know about it, has read 12 volumes about it. But then what is snow? What is a watch? And you're like, did none of these texts or languages or anything ever discuss these sorts of concepts? But like, the film wouldn't be more entertaining if they addressed that. You know what I mean? Like, the choice of having her enjoy those moments and be excited about those moments.
And having wonder about those things as comparison to the other characters.
That's what humanizes her. Because if everything was as earnest as it is on Amazon Island, then I think it would struggle. And I think the film's probably weaker when it is very earnest. And I mean overly earnest. I like some of the seriousness of it, and I like the journey that she goes through with her reaction to what she's seeing. I think that's really crucial. And it also... We're not going to spoil anything. We're going to be careful. But I think the way that taps into her costume reveal is in her first real action moment as the costumed Wonder Woman is so effective. It's a really iconic bit of film.
There's the moment as that was leading up, like that first moment when you knew something was about to happen, I just got chills. Yeah. And then through that whole scene, I was like, I'm watching the scene of the film here. And
you could argue, well, why can't we get to that a little bit earlier in the film? But it earns it.
You need to earn it, yeah.
And I feel like, this is really just churning everything out. And I've got a lot I want to say, and it's all over the place. But I think that first time I saw it, I felt that there were the pacing issues. It wasn't that I wasn't enjoying the scenes. I think the scene, like every scene, you look at it, and there's some overlong kind of conversations. Perhaps some of the exposition-y stuff is a little bit belabored, but they're scenes of people with quite good chemistry, and the dialogue's actually quite funny and sharp.
Yeah.
And you go, well, maybe that makes the action more effective. I mean, Tarantino's never been afraid of that idea of, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to just, develop this, do this. And when we do have action, when we do move, we're really going to move. Like, you're really going to feel it. So what I realized the second time watching it was that maybe that was just that impatience of where is this going, and I want to know what's happening. Because I actually then thought maybe 3.5's a little bit harsh. Like, maybe this is a 4, because this film, in every scene, every interaction, everything it's doing, it just wants to please me. It's just like, it's a really lovingly crafted film in that sense.
The bit that where I sort of realised that it was trying to please me is when I'm sort of thinking, look, it's a Wonder Woman movie. She doesn't need... there doesn't need to be any kind of romance to validate her. Yeah. She can stand on her own. She doesn't need any of that sort of thing. But on the other hand, I was sitting there thinking, oh God, I ship this so hard.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't know where I want to fall. And then it's just the movie's like, well, look, let me sort this out for you.
Well, that segues into another thing, I guess, because it's impossible to view a film like this and to judge it and understand where it's coming from without really accepting it within the context of where it's coming from. This film, although there is a certain freedom with the filmmakers, at the same time, it's burdened by a lot of history.
Yeah.
Like, they can't really radically change the origin or the fact that she has a relationship with Steve Trevor and all those aspects without potentially alienating people further. And they have picked through the timeline. There's elements there which are from New 52, for example. You have to carry across these ideas in the same way that, say, Thor or Doctor Strange did. Aspects of the origin which come from a very different place, that are written by people who are grumpy old men that aren't making much money, that are churning these things out lightning fast to make a couple of bucks and are just churning them out for kids. Now suddenly you have a sophisticated audience, in theory, in 2017 watching these things.
Well, the unsophisticated people aren't going to go and see it, Luke, because it's about women.
And you have to make it work. You have to make it real. You have to... There's this balancing act of, do I ground it? Do I try and make it serious? But do I also commit to the comic book elements of it? And I think that's where superhero films always struggle. That balance. And it can unbalance at any time in a superhero movie. I think that if we take, for example, Nolan's Dark Knight, he grounds that so much, and I love that film. It's definitely my favorite of all of those. But there's a point where Batman just looks so silly because he's the only fantasy element in this thing. Even Joker you can get away with as just being like this crazy terrorist person. But the fact that the guy fighting him chooses to dress as a bat and speak in that raspy voice, there's times when you go, the superhero bit is silly. This should just be a...
Yeah.
Whereas, as silly as Burton's ones are, he creates a world around that...
It's appropriate for him to exist in.
And it's a palette and it's a design that carries throughout the world. Guardians of the Galaxy is a great example of that. There's the colour and the palette and the just the atmosphere of the world meets those characters. So I think this one struggles with that a little bit at times because it sells the grounded, real stuff so well that when it does have to suddenly go into comic book fantasy, it is quite jarring. The scales kind of teeter a bit and you go, well, hang on. That said, it's almost for me like that sort of feeling we had with 10 Cloverfield Lane, where you go... I kind of feel it's going to go this way.
But I kind of hope it doesn't.
I kind of hope it doesn't. But at the same time, I'd probably be disappointed if it didn't because it kind of has to because that's the path that it's on. That's what it's committing to.
Yeah, because you feel like you're wanting to... You're expecting it to zag at the last minute when it's just very methodically going on its little path and you're like, this can't be it. So it's got to be this. And it's going, no. Like, I laid all this shit out for you. Like, this is a one-way track. Like, and you're like, no. But surely there's...
Yeah, because with the Cloverfield thing, you go, unless you do that with the third act, it's not a Cloverfield movie. You've lost that DNA of it.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing here.
Yeah.
It was like, well, we're not really a war movie. This isn't Saving Private Ryan. We're a comic book movie about Wonder Woman. And Batman has the Joker and Superman has Lex Luthor and Wonder Woman has her thing and you are tied to that history.
And like I know I've seen a couple of reviews that people said, I really loved it. Third act a bit weak, but overall I did like it. And it's hard to disagree with that, but I still think the big bad fight at the end was not as bad as it could have been.
It conceptually, I think it shits the bed. But Wonder Woman herself never shits the bed. She... Even when all that stuff's happening, there is still a lot of really great iconic shots and a lot to like.
There's a lot going on outside of that actual thing.
And a lot to like with what's happening with her. So it feels like a kind of remnant of those things that people have been criticizing DC about. And it's silly. It is silly. And we should remember that and not be too worried about that. But just remember the fact that, because it goes both ways. We pick on people that are so negative about things and say, we shouldn't treat films like they're massacres. But at the same time, they're not going to change your life necessarily either and be the most, there's a lot of pressure on Wonder Woman to solve the world's problems, and it wasn't going to do that. And there are certainly things that when we are in the moment, and we've all gone through this all through our lives, where we forgive certain things, where we watch and we go, oh yeah, no, like that was fine. But later on, 10, 20 years, we'll be watching it and going, oh my God, that's so fucking silly. And we'll be laughing. But at the moment, I just would not want to dismiss the important things that the film does. And I think I appreciated that more the second time around, because it's not just that final act that's a bit clunky in terms of the concept there. The moral of it is clunky as well. And I find it quite unsophisticated.
I mean, I think Yeah, I mean, I get that, but it is a little bit cheesy, essentially, the big sort of monologue that goes on at the end.
Well,
But
let's
I
boil
think-
it down. This is such a minor spoiler. All you need is love.
Basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not
yeah,
war, love.
Yeah. And,
Which
but
is
I think I liked...
to all the people that are anti-love in the audience.
I kind of like it, even though it's dished up in a bit of a ham-fisted way. I think I still didn't mind it that
it's a
much.
fair-
Like
Ford,
it's
mate.
like
Ford, fucking Ford.
I don't know, and it's funny. Like I was thinking.
Sorry, I just pressed the fucking forward button by mistake. If people heard that,
Okay, I haven't got my headphones in, so I can't hear it. I was thinking, if I'd... There's a lot of people talking about, obviously female representation, and we've never had a Wonder Woman like this
yeah.
for little girls to look up to and that sort of thing. And I was thinking if I was a little girl watching this for the first time, if I'd had this when I was a kid, would it have, made me different? Would this have been a big deal for me? And I think... Honestly, I think the all you need is love thing would have been the deal breaker for me as a kid. Because that would have just been too... She was too nice. She was too pure. Even as a kid, I liked, as pretentious as it sounds, quite flawed characters. So I would have always, as a kid, gone for Batman rather than Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's tough. I mean, as an adult, I appreciate Wonder Woman's whole thing much better. I'm glad that I'm seeing this as an adult and I can appreciate it on a much deeper level than if I saw this as a kid. I'd be like, oh, yeah, I mean, she was cool, but she's a bit too nice.
I mean, there's a context there as well, and we've talked about this before, that obviously pretty much anything that costs over $100 million is going to be very broad thematically.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be very taxing either. It is going to be a very universal message that everybody gets. And I've picked on a few films this year already because of this. Like Star-Lord, of all people, does his, I was looking for something and it was right under my nose all the time, family kind of thing. Setting Ghost in the Shell, it's not who you are, but what you do that's important. Characters making these morals at the end. And I think that's, especially in an age where television is so good and television doesn't cost that much as movies, and you can afford to be more niche, you realize like television is becoming more and more sophisticated, but as budgets rise on blockbusters, I think the messaging is becoming less and less sophisticated. But that's the business. I mean, if you're going to appeal to a huge amount of people, that's what you have to do. And I think maybe I left the film the first time carrying that weight, thinking, well, the messaging in this is really quite bash over the head. But watching it the second time, I think that's not fair on, really 3/4 of the film, which actually handles some of the messaging about gender roles and race quite well. Like, it's quite progressive. It adds humor to those messages, and it puts them in, it seeds it, it places them, but it doesn't, for the most part, preach or hit you over the head with it. There's a lot of like, I'm going to just put this here and then I'm just going to keep moving. And I quite like that. I think...
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the way they talk about a lot of these, the issues that come up, like if they're talking about, like the whole pleasures of the flesh sort of scene, like they were talking about it like actual human people. Like I was expecting there to be some kind of, nudge, nudge, wink, wink sort of stuff happening there, but it never did.
The most amazing thing for me about it is that female perspective that we don't often see in these kind of films. And by that I mean we see a lot of men in uniform with command, and we have to, of course, everyone in military situations are heroes, and we respect in discipline, and all that's important. And yes, sir, okay, if that's your orders, this is, to have someone just go, hang on, this is bullshit. Like, why? Why are you doing that? Why would you listen to him? Why would you put up with that? why is shooting someone from a distance an appropriate thing to do? And even the fact that you have a character here that's kind of about guns and just not into that at all. There's this kind of disdain for that. So you have, and I think maybe this idea at the end of All You Need Is Love is really just the final manifestation of all of those things, of this other perspective, sort of turning it around. It's not about violence, etc. And it is distilled down in a kind of clunky way. But maybe in a way that's like, I mean, my favourite sort of feminist cap off to a movie is still Moana. Let's talk about that, spoilers, because we didn't at the time. But just the fact that these island chieftains put these phallic tower of rocks on top of the mountain, and then she puts the biggest, pinkest conch shell and just plonks it on top. This great big fanny of a thing on top of the man thing. Yeah. And for me, like, that was far more sophisticated. That was like, whoa, and that's not just me looking at things that I want to have sex with. That is a symbol that is very universally accepted as being, I don't know what the opposite to phallic is, but that's what it is. There are a lot of interesting little messages throughout. But I think, bottom line for me, she's just amazing.
She is. Oh my God. Like, I think the worst thing about seeing this movie in 3D is that I just, like, wanted to reach out and stroke her face. Like, she is, like, I know it's not about looks and everything, like, but she is so beautiful that I just want to weep, like, every time I look at her. Like, I wonder if this movie is going to result in, like, a new sexuality being born, which is hetero-godosexual.
Yeah.
Like, I like...
live on an island.
Yeah, so I like men, but also just Gal Gadot specifically.
Yeah, yeah.
She could do whatever she wanted to me. Like, I'm just going to go home after this and just look at pictures of Gal Gadot.
So, I almost don't... It's hard. You can't not look at this movie through the lens of being important for being a strong female-led thing, but at the same time, it kind of bugs me because I just wish we were at that point where it is just another superhero movie.
Yeah.
Because those things that we've heard in the past, like, oh, well, we don't do superhero movies led by females because Catwoman didn't do well and Elektra didn't do well or whatever, they're just such shitty movies. And Marvel, especially, who are, you know, an arm of Disney who is more progressive than they've ever been and playing with diversity more. It's just absolutely criminal. They've got an A-list actor as their main female superhero and they just haven't done it. It's crazy to me. So... And
they've got a ready-made, you know, team up. Like, if they're worried about just having Black Widow as their own movie, you've got a ready-made Black Widow Hawkeye spy movie.
I mean, you could throw in as many other characters as you wanted, but just to put that story and that character at the forefront would be fantastic. So, I don't know. I do think that based on the sorts of things we're hearing, that the good thing is that this does have potential to change the landscape. I think it will certainly... I know Gal Gadot was a star already, but I think it's really going to push her into that point where everybody knows who she is. Because not everybody did.
Yeah, and this makes me even more upset that she had to pull out of Supernova last year. Because I would have got her autograph and everything last year, and now I'm like, she's never coming back. No, like, we're never going to see Gal Gadot ever again, and I'm so devastated. But yeah, I loved it both as a movie and from the point of view of just seeing a movie full of women just being super capable and just getting shit done. And I know that that's not going to be for everybody, and if there's dudes out there going, hey, look, I mean, I liked it, but I didn't love it, then it kind of wasn't for you on that level. Like, you've
got plenty of stuff.
Yeah, like this is the first big thing for us. Like, that's the thing that, you know, dudes they go, oh, we've got, like, you know, Black Widow and all that. Black Widow's in the movie for like 10 fucking minutes, and she never gets anything like this. Like, this is a very, very big deal. And if you don't want to, you know, and if people kind of don't want to appreciate that, then that's, you know, cool. That's on them. But just understand, coming from me, coming from probably most other women that you know, this is a big deal for us. And we are all thrilled that it's, one, making shitloads of money, and that it is being pretty well received. Like, this is huge.
And Zack Snyder worked on the story and produced it with his partner, so fuck you all too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good on you, Zack, you little plucky bugger.
Yeah. Oh.
With your great big Popeye arms.
I want to go and see it again.
Oh, I've already seen it twice. Do you want me to just tell you about it
No,
again?
fuck off.
I can reenact it.
Yeah. Actually, I've never really been that into Chris Pine, but I liked him in this.
He was great.
Yeah. Like, normally I'm just like, oh, yeah, Chris Pine. He's okay. I like it. Like, I like his face. Like, I liked his face in this.
Because he's,
With the uniform,
you know,
and the face,
like,
and the
he's
hair.
masculine. He plays, you know, things, swaggery people like Captain
But
Kirk.
he's not a dude bro kind of thing. Like, he's
and-
very... He reads her well.
And
Like,
he
he's very
looks-
perceptive.
Yeah, he plays second to her, and it's good. Like, they've found
And
someone...
and he actively acknowledges that he knows that he's not at her level.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they work. They have a lot of chemistry together, and they work well. He looks very small next to her. Funny, when he's got his shirt off, you know, you keep looking at her, and she's just this perfectly proportioned goddess. And then,
like, he looks pretty good, but he looks shit compared to her.
well, it's because his head's so big. Did you notice that? Like, he's got his shirt off, and he looked like Peter Dinklage.
I wasn't really looking at his head when he had his shirt
Yeah.
off. But, yeah, their chemistry was really great.
And I would hope that that's a big part of the director knowing just how to, you know, being someone who comes from drama. She directed Monster. Just really knows how to get those characters playing off each other. I was saying this to Suzanne in the car on the way back. Some of my favourite bits are when they are having intense conversations and they're talking over each other. They're clipping each other's sentences. It just makes it so much more realistic and human. I love that. I think, you know, there's that moment in Force Awakens after they've evaded the TIE fighters and the Falcon, and
and
Finn
they're
and
excitedly talking to each other.
and they talk over the top of each other, and that is the point where you go, they're friends. They like and trust each other, and they've got chemistry now. Like, you just believe it. It's such a great device.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they use it a couple of times in Wonder Woman, and it's a great effect, I thought. So
Yeah. I've seen, I guess the obvious comparison to the Marvel Universe is something like Captain America First Avenger. I think the things that this movie does, similarly to Captain America, I think it actually does it a bit better in a lot of ways. Like, they have their own kind of Howling Commandos-ish sort of team.
there are a lot of similarities.
There's a lot of similarities, and I think, look, as much as I like Captain America, the messages were different. Captain America is, "Oorah, war breeds heroes," and this is very different to that.
Yeah, it is a different perspective, even though there are so many sort of tropes and trappings of the superhero genre, especially when you look at the villains and things, and, you know, that origin story formula that's been around forever. But there is a different perspective, and that's what I kind of like, is it's layered over the top of it. And I think, you know, that's kind of where we were at when we were talking about something like Moana in a way as well, was that you on one level it is the classic Disney fairy tale. It is the girl that I want to go and explore and do this, and I'm told I'm not supposed to, but then I go off and leave my home where I've always been, and I adventure and I learn things. But it was layered with, it was just done well. It was layered with different things. Don't have a problem with a good story told well. A simple story told well, I should say. You know, that's Star Wars' thing as well. So, yeah, there's certainly lots of undercurrents there which make it work. It's, for me, it's the first half of Thor crossed with the second half of Captain America.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've seen that comparison too. I think that maybe stuff on Themyscira, I wasn't... the first half of Thor, I really loved. I think that was a really well-created world, and I like that. Themyscira, I liked, but once they got away from there and started getting... that's when I liked it more.
It's less earnest.
Yeah.
Like, the characters are... It's not that I'm saying it becomes, really silly and jokey. There are jokes, but the characters absolutely 100% believe in their mission and their trajectory and everything like that. The jokes are straight-faced, but it becomes more relatable, for sure. Yeah. And again, it's just that thing. You're tied to a comic origin. Like, you're tied to what happened in these books that have been around for decades, and I don't know how you escape that. I think you've just got to sort of work around it and make it work, and it does. There's that point where you go, oh yeah, but then do we need Greek gods in it? Will that work in this movie? And then you think, well,
it kind of has to.
Over there you've got Anthony Hopkins going, well, hello, Norse gods over here, you just commit to it and you do it. You get good people to do it. And yeah, I'm excited going forward. We got the Justice League trailer in IMAX beforehand, and to see her in that, because I'd already, of course, seen the film, was just like, oh, we get more of her so soon? Like, we get more of her later this year?
I wonder if they can just shoehorn her into Aquaman. Maybe she can just be in fucking everything from now on. Yeah.
Why not?
Maybe all the movies going forward can just be like Wonder Woman 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 featuring Superman, featuring Batman.
Oh, I like Batman too. Well, I've surprised myself because I think I was planning to be probably a little bit more critical about the film and the story. Not her, like I said, 5 stars for her, but I softened on it a second time.
So you, in the end, you realised that all you need is love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had like a grumpy thing whispering in my ear, telling me, giving me bad thoughts because I'm a man.
Yeah.
Is this like one of those things where my opinion just really doesn't matter, like Hidden Figures?
Yeah. Yeah.
On that note, thank you everybody so much for listening. We always appreciate that. Please go to fruitlesspursuits.com to find out what we're doing. The history show will be happening soon. I think we're recording more of those. We're getting a backlog of that happening. We just need a logo. If someone has an idea for a half-hour history logo, send it in because I'm stumped. And yes, I just gone blank. My brain died. Yeah, Facebook group, all that sort of shit. And thanks.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Oh, and next week is the Mummy?
The
Is
Mummy.
it the Mummy?
Yeah.
Oh Christ.
Scream.
Oh
Where's
yeah.
the
Okay,
scream?
here we go. So we'll catch you then for Tom Cruise. Where's that one?
There won't be another Camelot.
Camelot?
Not another Camelot.
Okay. Yeah.